Holyrood?
Yeah, we've got quite a lot of MSPs who are supportive. We're actually holding a fringe event at the SNP conference later in the month. We've not confirmed all the details, but we'll be having SNP MSPs speaking at it. There's quite a few. Yeah, quite a few in the SNP are quite openly Republican. The Green Party obviously is, and there's quite a few Scottish Labour MSPs who are Republican as well. So we do have quite a bit of support within the Scottish Parliament.
I can't imagine many Tories are in there, though.
No, none that I'm aware of so far. But there is a within Republic there is a Conservatives for a Republic group which has been established. So there are a few of them out there.
Wow. Now you need to get Daily Mail readers for a Republic.
I think we might struggle with that one.
There's probably one somewhere. I find that the whole idea of a monarchy, like you said, in this day and age is absurd. Why do you think there's so much of a strong defence of it among certain sections of society in Britain?
I think it's just this clinging to the past, clinging to this idea that Britain, is some great country. Those who still cling on to the idea that the empire was a great thing, that we having the biggest navy in the world was this great thing. It's all part of that, the imperialism of it. These people who are stuck in the past and see the monarchy as a proud part of our past and something that, even though the empire no longer exists, at least the monarchy. Kind of the same logic that Better Together use when they say that we fought world wars together. It's this idea of being stuck in the past and refusing to make any kind of constitutional change because that's the way it's always been.
Do you think there's a sort of element of its celebrity culture for snobs?
I don't know, because I don't necessarily think that it's only snobs who enjoy the celebrity culture aspect of it. Because if you look at things like Hello magazine, then they always have pictures of Kate in the front. Even, I don't know, some of the things like Heat magazine, they'll still have pictures of Kate and William and things. So it's probably to do with celebrity culture to a large extent, but I think it's quite mainstream celebrity culture rather than just for snobs.
Yeah, which I find worrying. I don't like celebrity culture in any form, actually. But now we can move on to just yourself, because you said that, and this is always something I find very interesting on the podcast. You said that you weren't always an independent supporter, but you've moved to that position, and it's always a very interesting area to find out why someone has made that decision, why they've made the change. Particularly someone like yourself who's part of a unionist supporting party, not a floating voter, so to speak. So, can you explain how you came to that decision?
We hear a lot in the campaign just now about how this should be a decision for your heart and your head, and in that sense I think I've always supported independence in my heart. Like, I've always thought it was a great idea and it would be lovely to achieve, but I never believed that it was actually possible. I admit that I was taken in by this too poor, too stupid arguments, because when you hear it all the time, it's difficult not to kind of accept it. But a few years ago, maybe about two years ago, I started to actually look at things like the economic case, and I thought, oh, actually, it does make sense economically. And then once I was convinced of that, I started to think about the other aspects, the democracy aspect, how we very rarely actually get the government we vote for. And it was just, the more I looked at it and the more I looked at the different aspects of it, the more convinced that I was. And then, yeah, even though I'd come round, still wasn't determined to kind of be an active part of the Yes campaign. I think I was maybe put off by the fact that I was in a unionist party and I didn't necessarily want to join the SNP. I wasn't too sure where I would fit into the campaign. And then obviously when Labour for Independence came along, that was when I decided to get actively involved.
Do you think if we got independence, Labour would be back to having a majority in Scotland, or do you think that at the moment they're doing too much damage to themselves? The leadership. I mean, I didn't see it, but apparently Joanne Lamont was kicked off today by the presiding officer for calling salmon dishonest or something. And with this attack, I think they're doing themselves a lot of damage. Do you think that can be quickly repaired after an independence vote?
Probably not quickly, but I think one of the most kind of crucial things that determines what happens to the Labour Party is what happens to the SNP, because obviously after a yes vote, that's their raison d'etre has gone. So if they split, or if they just disintegrate, or whatever happens to them over, the maybe decade or so after we become independent, will probably determine what happens to the Labour Party. And I think the Labour Party has some good people in it. There's some good potential in the Scottish Parliament just now in the Labour Party. And I think if those people could kind of actually reach a bit further up within the party, then it could potentially have quite a good future in an independent Scotland. But with the current leadership, then I don't see people suddenly deciding to vote for them.
Is it very consensual in the Scottish Labour, or does a lot of it just come? It's very top down, and this is what you've got to say, and that's it, or is there more kind of consensual decision making than that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not massively involved in internal party politics, because I've made it clear that I'm not, or I've had it made clear to me that I'm not really welcome. So I don't know mathematically how much, what exactly goes on, but there's definitely, when you've got groups like the Campaign for Socialism, which works within the Labour Party, I think there's definitely a lot of different ideas within the party, but whether or not they actually, reach a consensus, or if they're just told what to do, I'm not too sure.
Because the Campaign for Socialism, and then there's the trade union groups, but for a long time it hasn't seemed like those groups, whether it's Scottish Labour or UK Labour, are actually listened to very much.
No, that's true. And if you look at what happened in Falkirk with Unite, then it's clear that the party leadership don't really want the trade unions to have very much of an influence over the party. And obviously Ed Miliband's current plans to change the trade union funding of the party, show that he wants to make their influence as small as possible. Yeah. So it does seem to be, quite top down. They seem to be going more and more for a top down leadership.
Yeah. Just on Miliband as a last little thing, in his speech as a member of Scottish Labour, were you rather disappointed that Scotland got all of a minute or something, and a minute of a story that didn't actually make sense?
Yeah, you kind of think, regardless of who the politician is, you think the leader of a UK party, they would want to actually devote some time to trying to, keep the UK together. It was the same, David Cameron did the same. He devoted, a tiny amount of the time in his speech towards trying to talk up the union. But I think it's just what we've come to expect from party leaders in Westminster. They're just so obsessed with London that they don't even give Scotland a thought, even at such an important time.
Yeah, Scotland passed by with a blaze of indifference. I published the thing on my blog today. They have an internal document going around in Whitehall at the moment about the Scottish independence situation, and it's called Why This Matters. So they actually have to be told why they should care. Quite a lot of them. I found that quite an extraordinary thing. Why this matters. But okay, so that's my last question. Simple. Why does this matter? Why does it matter to you, Scottish independence?
Because it gives us a chance to abandon the failed system that we have now and to start again. How often do we have the chance to create a new country and to work together to create such a fundamental change in the country? It's just such an important thing, and we're all so lucky that we're actually living through it, and we just need to take full advantage to ensure that we create the best possible country we can.
Agreed. And I think on that note, we'll leave it for today. Thanks very much for coming on, Paul.
Okay, thank you.
So there you have it. That was Paul. I've got a few good guests lined up that will be coming out in the next couple of weeks.
Further to that, we should be getting for that going again soon once Andrew gets out of his thesis writing nightmare. Apart from that, as usual, the guest gets to choose the tune on the Scottish Independence podcast, and Paul chose this, so I'll speak to you next time.
I never felt like this before. Try to hold it back and I feel it even more. Sweat drips down my spine and my knees are weak. I cannot move, I cannot speak. But then you came and I held it together again. I managed to stumble through 50,000 voices singing in the rain. There's nothing that I wouldn't do, 'cause I'd move mountains if you were